Hello guys, FPL Carnage here. Welcome to my first ever YouTube video. I'm really excited to be starting this journey with you guys. In today's video, we're going to be talking about our Gameweek 33 team selection, the announcement of the double Gameweek 34, 35 and 37, possible transfers we're going to be making over this coming and remaining game weeks of the season, as well as what chips to use and which game weeks would be most advisable to use them. But before we dive right into that, we're going to be looking at a review of our game week 32 and how that went for me. Alright, quick review of game week 32 before we move any further. Dubravka with a 9-point haul, really decent points from him over the weekend. Pedro Porro with an 11-point hauler over the weekend against Nottingham Forest. Really excited for that one, seeing as it was the first time he was returning for me since I brought him in on my game week 24 wild card. Not really excited for the Bowen transfer. I had to take a move, removing Saka and bringing Bowen in due to fitness and injury scares. Really cost me there. Went with Palmer as my captain option before deadline. Wasn't really much difference in swing of the captaincy picks this week, but was able to give me a minor green arrow that shot me up about 100 places on the overall world ranking. However, still a lot of positives to take from this particular game week 32. I still have my bench boost to use in game week 37 and my free hits that I'm going to be using in game week 34. So fingers crossed, and hopefully we can move up from here. Now, like I mentioned earlier, double game week 34, 35 and 37 have all been confirmed for us, which means that all our schedules from now till the ending of the season have officially been confirmed. Of course, unless something crazy happens like the weather or any of the factors that have seen these fixtures get changed towards this period at the end of the season. Otherwise, I believe that we pretty much have our fixed fixture schedule till the ending of the season. Now we have 7 teams doubling in game week 34, 2 teams doubling in game week 35, and 6 teams doubling in game week 37. Now we're going to be looking at a few teams that are going to be doubling in game week 34 and the possible players that you should be looking to target in these teams. So in game week 34, like I said, we have 7 teams doubling. We have Liverpool, we have Arsenal, we have Everton, we have Crystal Palace, we have Wolves, we have Sheffield, and we have Bournemouth. Now, out of these 7 teams, I would prefer to triple up on Liverpool assets, on my Arsenal assets, and I would like to get a few players from Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, and the Wolverhampton fixture. Now, in game week 34, I'm going to be looking to use my free hits because I would not want to get rid of my Chelsea and Spurs assets, seeing as they both double in game week 35 and in game week 37. So I'm going to use my free hit to maximize the double game week 34 and get 11 players that I know are going to be doubling for me to try and achieve maximum points, so as to also keep players like Heung-min Son and Cole Palmer that are going to be doubling in 35. Now, I know that Son is not going to have a fixture, or rather Tottenham assets are not going to have a game to play in game week 34, and the Chelsea game in 34 is a tough fixture. So if you know that you don't have a chip that you're going to be using in this game week 34, I would advise that you can use one free transfer in this game week to set yourself up for game week 34, and then use the next free transfer in game week 34 to bring in a player that will double in that particular double game week. Now, personally, if I was not going to be using my free hit chip this week, I would be looking at players like Darwin Núñez. I would probably be looking at a move from Haaland to Darwin Núñez. I would be looking at a move from Son to Eberechi Eze or Sarabia, or I'll be looking at bringing in a player like Luis Diaz or Diogo Jota, as we have seen that he is back into Liverpool training. And we saw him get a few minutes off the bench in their Europa League game last night against Atlanta. Now, there are other players that you can be looking at from the various fixtures in the double game week 34. You have the likes of Mateta, you have Olise that has just returned from injury, which is a huge boost for the Crystal Palace team. You have Matheus Cunha also returning from injury. You have Hwang Hee-chan, you have Solanke, also the phenomenal striker that has been on top form for the Cherries this season. they are going to be doubling as well in game week 34. So there are a variety of players for you to select going into game week 34. It's also good to mention that in this game week 34, you can go without actually having 11 doublers in your team. If your one free transfer this week and next week can set you up nicely with at least six doublers in game week 34, it is advisable that you go with that team. You don't necessarily need to take a minus unless you have injury situations that are causing you to make that particular decision. Now, we have seen from the course of the season in the last two double game weeks that we've had that it's not really necessary to load up on double game week players because we have seen that even the single game week players can score more points than the double game week players. So I think if you have the likes of Erling Haaland that is playing against Brighton, a fixture that he has found favorable in previous games, and the likes of Ollie Watkins that's going to be having a decent fixture as well. These are players that you can keep and start in your game week 34 lineup that could possibly produce more points than some of the double game week 34 players that we're going to be looking to bring in either on our chips or on a free transfer or in a minus. So it's advisable that if you don't have a free hit chip or a wildcard chip to play in game week 34, you can go ahead and use your free transfer in 33 as well as game week 34. Now, I have one free transfer this week, which I have already used to bring back Bukayo Saka into my game week 33 team. I don't think I'm going to be making any other moves ahead of game week 33 deadline. I will wait for the press conferences from the managers this afternoon to decide on which player I would like to add to my game week 33 team. I think Foden is going to be a popular pick ahead of their game against Luton at the Etihad. We've seen him on prolific form for the Blues in recent game weeks. Although we saw him come off with a knock against Real Madrid, we're going to be waiting for the press conferences from Pep Guardiola, as well as injury news and updates on Kevin De Bruyne, seeing that he was withdrawn from the lineup against Real Madrid on Tuesday evening. Okay, so let's look at my game week 33 team selection. We have Dubravka in goal against Tottenham. That's not a game that I feel would have clean sheets for either team, but I'm looking at getting some save points from Dubravka and hoping to salvage some points from him in that game. I'm going to go in a back three of Gusto, Gabriel, and Regulion. Gusto is back in my squad after he was placed on the bench, or rather not available in the squad for Chelsea against Sheffield over the weekend. I'm hoping that he will be back in the squad to face Everton at Stamford Bridge this weekend. Gabriel of Arsenal is the second defender taking place in my squad. He and the Arsenal team would be looking to get back to keeping clean sheets in the Premier League after they conceded two goals to Bayern Munich in the Champions League during the midweek games. Regulion is another one that will be taking the third spot in my FPL team ahead of game week 33. He returned a 9-point haul in his last game over the weekend in the 3-3 thriller at Villa Park. We will be looking for similar or more points returned from him ahead of their game against Sheffield this weekend. In my midfield, I will be going with Salah, Son, Saka, Palmer, and Garnacho. Saka and Palmer to complete my double up on the Arsenal and Chelsea assets. Garnacho and Son, my major differentials going into game week 33. I really fancy Son and Garnacho to get something from their away games to Newcastle and Bournemouth. I see that as a good game that is going to have a lot of goals, and I'm hoping to see some good returns from both assets. Now, in my forward line, I'm going to have Erling Haaland and Ivan Toney. From the press conferences that we've heard today, we have seen that Toney is going to be fit and ready to feature in that game against Sheffield. So we will likely see him return into the Brentford squad ahead of their game this weekend. Now on the bench, I have Areola, I have Muniz, I have Pedro Porro, and I have Branthwaite. Areola is not one that I would assume to be using in this game with 33 as he is still off injured for the West Ham squad. I have Muniz that can come in for Erling Haaland if he is rested due to their midweek fixture coming up against Madrid in midweek next week. I have Pedro Porro that can come off as my first defender sub that's going away to Newcastle, and Branthwaite playing Chelsea away from home on Monday night. Now, all that's left for us to talk about is captaincy picks ahead of game 33. Currently, my captain armband is on Erling Haaland and my vice captain is on Mohamed Salah. I don't really see that changing, although I do have a few concerns about Erling Haaland's minutes against Luton Town this weekend, seeing as they have a Champions League second leg tie against Real Madrid. Now we'll be hoping to see a few team leagues possibly before the games kick off tomorrow before the deadline. And if Erling Haaland isn't featured in the starting lineup, my captain armband would be moving to Mohamed Salah and my vice captain would be Cole Palmer. I think Cole Palmer is going to be an excellent differential captain this week. So I would really recommend Cole Palmer as a really great differential captain ahead of game 33. I'm going to be going with Erling Haaland, like I said earlier, unless we receive news or team leaks that he's not going to be featuring in the game against Luton, of which I would be taking him to my bench and starting Muniz in my game week 33 lineup. Thank you guys for watching my video. If you have any questions as regards to your FPL team ahead of the deadline, please do share your questions in the comment section and I will do well to respond to them as quickly as I can. So if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel and see you in the next FPL video.